Hello, my name is Brighton Zaz. Welcome back to another episode of Growing with Sewing. Today we're here for episode 5 in South Point Park, Roosevelt Island. This episode's going to be a little bit special today because this item that we're going to be making today was voted on by popular majority. So this series is all about getting better as a creator. We're diving into this fashion series, which is a 12-piece designer collection, designed and created by me from scratch. And at the very end of this series, I plan on having this be a fully running collection that you as the viewer can either choose to make or buy a copy from me. So these prototypes have been something that I've been working on for a very long time. The Loopless collection was created about a year ago. This is going to be the 5th item in this collection, and it's going to be a loopless dad hat, or a loopless cap, however you want to call it. Today we're going to be diving a little bit further into actually the process of making a hat. Or something to get excited about in this season is we're going to have a mid-season update come probably November, where there's going to be a rudimentary shift in how we go about this series. November is going to be colder weather, so of course we're not going to be able to come outside into this beautiful weather to be able to make any more hoodies. So we're going to be moving it into a studio full time, and on top of that, I'm going to give everybody an option to be able to follow along and make these items with me. Because I've been seeing a lot of people saying that they want to be able to make whatever I'm making on screen as well. And I do plan on making that a full reality. This series is all about me venturing into becoming a better creator and how I end up getting that end goal. I will eventually share this process with you guys underneath my own website, The Archive. That's the plan at least. But right now, I have to master this craft so that when I do share the patterns, the garments, or when I upload them to sell, then I have the perfect recipe for when we can move forward and how we can move forward with that actual goal. So today we're going to be making the Loopless Cap, which is essentially just a dad hat. We have a 5-panel piece. In episode 1 through 4, we actually tore apart all of the other items. But for this one, we're going to be doing it a little bit differently because I didn't want to tear up a hat. I feel like if we had to go through and tear up a hat, especially in this location, it would have been a lot of extra legwork to make sure that we have all the pattern pieces, and I can't guarantee that it's going to be held together because of the way that hats are made. Instead of trying to take apart a hat and trying to discover the patterns that way, I went ahead and I downloaded some patterns off the internet, and we're going to be using those as our base piece. We're just going to go straight into this one, or we're just going to cut, sew, and then that should be everything. So we're just going to go ahead and get straight into this right now, actually. All right, one of the things that we've learned from our past experiences, we're gonna start ironing. We haven't used an iron through episode 1 through 4. Today, we're gonna finally use the iron. So this is the material that we're using. We're just gonna go ahead and iron this flat real quick. Another thing that I really haven't used before is bias tape, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to pick up any before I came here. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making bias tape out of this material. Now, essentially, bias tape just makes a garment go in a certain direction. For example, the hats. We have a flat material right now, and in order to make that curve shape on the head, you have to use some bias tape to make the edges fold over. I'll go through a very quick process of how we're going to make the bias tape. It's essentially just long 2-inch strips. Well, to be honest, we're just going to set these to the side right now because we don't need them. I just wanted to cut them up so that when we do need them, Alright, this is our custom bias tape. These are what the patterns look like. 2 side pieces, 2 top pieces, and then 1 front piece. those are all 5 of our pieces. Gonna cut them out and then start assembling. So we're gonna go ahead and quickly iron out each of these pieces. That's all our pieces set to the side. So the first thing that we're gonna do here is we're actually gonna take these 2 pieces. We're gonna put them face to face. This is the outside here. Put that face up, and then take this one face down, and we're just stitching along that line. So that's the first stitch that we're making. A trick that I learned is taking a piece of masking tape and putting it on the 1/4 inch line. All right, taking it down that line. So then after we got that piece on the other side, and we're just gonna cut off that excess little bit. So now what we do here is we're gonna take our bias tape and we're gonna feed it in on the inside. We're gonna take one of these strips that we cut out earlier. We're gonna fold it in half once so we can know where that line is. So we're gonna do that all the way down. So now that we got that seam across all the way down the middle, we're gonna fold again. So both of these folded down, and we're gonna mark on the piece of paper where that is. So we're gonna take that, we're gonna fold it like so. Take a piece of tape and we're gonna fold it all the way down. Just gonna fold these in half and then feed this through. This is gonna automatically fold this over for us. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna bring out our iron. We're just gonna go back and forth as we slowly peel this down. That's leaving it folded. A lot of people will take this and they have a bias strip feeder in their actual machine. Like a little triangle thing that feeds it automatically to fit this profile. But I found that ironing them before we do it and then attaching this little piece that we made to our sewing machine and then running it through is a lot easier, especially because I don't have a twin blade. I don't have some of these things that we'd actually need to make sure this is done properly. So again, just like this series is, it's all about growing and learning with it. So if we're not trying it, we're not learning. Put this off to the side. So if we pull this inside out, see that this is now our inside of it. The bias tape goes down on this. So we're gonna take this little rectangle piece that we made. We're gonna feed our now folded cloth into it, and we're just gonna put this down on the sewing machine. All right, so we're just gonna take this straight down, and we're gonna match up these seams together. We had to relocate so we can accommodate to the movie that's playing. I'm having issues and I'm not gonna like stress about it. I'm just gonna try it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And we go back to the drawing board. So we moved locations. With that being said, I have a question to ask the sewing community. How the f do I get it so my string stops breaking? It keeps breaking almost every single time and I don't know. I recently replaced it to an all cotton, so I was having trouble with an all polyester thread. I am at a tension of anywhere from 2 to 4 and my needle is 110. If anybody could tell me why I'm experiencing trouble, that'd be nice. I've just been having issues. All right, after troubleshooting this for about 2 hours, we're taking this back to the studio. We gotta finish this project, and this ain't gonna cut it. Back at the studio, we need to fix this sewing machine. The upper thread keeps getting ripped and I'm trying to figure out why. My first guess is that the machine is dirty, so I take everything apart, clean it thoroughly, and we reassemble everything. there weren't too many issues that I saw internally, so once I got it all cleaned, I thought the issue was over. I started putting it back together, and then we ran into more problems. So here, not only does the top thread break, but the machine gives us an error code E1 and refuses to move. And after more troubleshooting, I get this new code F3. That means malfunction. Now at this point, it's going to cost more to get the machine fixed than it would be to get a new one. But this project's deadline is coming up and I don't have time to do either. So after asking around, I found a machine that I could borrow to finish this project. This is a Fleetwood Series 15 from 1960. After fumbling around with this machine, it works so much better than my brother. Oh my god. This is a 60-year-old machine and it just tears through this shit like butter. Listen. After finishing that second strip for the bias tape on the first two pieces that we started back in the park, I started putting on the two side pieces. This is where the hat starts to take shape. You can see the curved fabric pulls the top pieces to actually make that hat shape. So here we're getting the brim ready. The pieces I bought from a local store here in New York, sweatband and plastic snaps also come from there too. All we're doing here is we're tracing the edge of the brim onto a folded cloth, cutting that cloth, and then we're going to sew the line that we traced on our machine. What this is going to do is it's going to make a tight sleeve that the brim fits into, allowing us to attach it to the hat. Once we get the brim in the sleeve, we're just going to pull it taut and sew as close to the brim as possible. And the next part is just simply attaching it to the inside of the hat. After a few more steps of trimming, sewing, folding, cutting, and sewing, we have our overall shape of the hat finished. Now we need to add the plastic snaps to close the back and our sweatband, and then we are finished with the base of this designer hat. Adding the sweatband was easy. It was just a single stitch all the way around the inside edge of the hat, but I did end up adding a second stitch. Sewing through the plastic snaps was surprisingly easy too. Again, this machine is just butter. And the final step for the base of the hat is just going to be steam out the brim so it has that baseball cap shape in our original plans. And once we have that done, the remainder of the project is just making our custom design. And that turns this from a normal hat to our designer hat, part of the Loopless collection. Now I'm going to let this play out because there is no straightforward rules or plans. I'm just eyeballing what looks right for this project based off our mock-ups. And to get our patterns, I'm just testing our boundaries, sketching out the waves, and making the pattern based off that. Once we have our patterns, we'll dye them their respective colors, attach them to the hat, and since we're on the final stretch here, I'm just going to go ahead and let this play out. You can watch the rest. Alrighty, we have completely finished up this project today in the span of about 20 minutes. When I first uploaded the vote for this episode onto the archive, whether it was a dad hat or a beanie, I didn't actually feel fully confident that I would be able to make a hat from scratch, either of them. And I knew that it was going to be a process that I'm going to learn along the way. I was pleasantly surprised when we came to the end product, and it's actually a very well holding hat. I really make this series towards pushing myself into the things that I don't think that I can do. So that's why when I uploaded the vote, I made it a challenge for myself. If this item did win, I'm gonna teach myself how to make it, and then we're gonna keep pushing further. Before everyone voted on this episode for this to be a dad hat, I wasn't fully confident in my ability to make it. So with that being said, this series is all about pushing myself to the things that I'm not so confident in. I want to know if you guys would change anything about the design or how I made it. I'm very interested to hear you guys' criticisms. Episode 4 was the most criticized episode, and I love it. I love the constructive criticism because it gives me room to grow. And the more attention that this gets, and the more people are able to criticize my work and able to give me key points on how I can improve, the more that I improve as a creator, and the better that this series and the better that this collection gets. This has been episode 5, number 5 of this 12-piece collection called the Loopless Collection. If you go to the archive, which is nonparallel.io/the archive, you'll be able to see a ton of information about this specific collection, upcoming updates, and how we're actually progressing with this. Earlier in the episode, I mentioned my plans for actually progressing this. I would expect some updates come November. November 1st is when I plan on having a mid-season update. The design for the next episode was revealed on the archive, so if you go to nonparallel.io/the archive, you'll be able to see all the information for next episode, the current design information for this episode, and you'll also be able to stream all the other episodes right from the archive. Again, my name is Brighton Zaz. It's always super fun doing these episodes. New episodes come out on the 1st of every month, so just stay tuned. We're always going to keep pushing out new content. Until the next episode, I'll see you guys then. Have a good one, guys.